Hello everyone and welcome to episode 30 of Generation GC, Superman Can't Walk. This is a bonus episode. Yesterday we talked about There She Goes from Cardiology. In a few days we'll be back with our next regular episode on a song from Youth Authority. And this one is just me, Molly Hudelson, no guest joining me. As a reminder, the U.S. presidential election is just a few weeks away, so if you are in the U.S. and 18 years or older, please make sure you're registered to vote. There is still time in some states, and it's so important to vote in this election. And as I've been saying, please visit antisemitism.card.co and blacklivesmatters.card.co to learn more about anti-Semitism and the Black Lives Matter movement, respectively. We need to continue speaking out against all forms of injustice. One little note before we head into the episode, Generation GC stickers are here. Do you want a sticker? Two ways you can do it. Number one, support the show on Anchor. Go to anchor.fm/GenerationGCPod and click support. And that helps me sustain the show, have the right equipment to make it as good as it can be, as well as do things like print the stickers and get them mailed to y'all. Or you can donate to a charitable organization. There's a lot of great organizations listed at blacklivesmatters.card.co, so you can just pick any one of those and make a donation at any amount. And then you're going to send me a screenshot of either your support of the show or your charitable donation, as well as your mailing address. You can DM me on Twitter or Instagram at GenerationGCPod, P-O-D, or email generationgcpod@gmail.com, and I will mail you stickers. I'll also occasionally tweet or post on the Instagram story about other ways y'all can get some stickers, whether that's good deeds you can do or ways to help spread the word about the show, so make sure you're following. Well, that's about it for our intro, and now on to episode 30, Superman Can't Walk. Alright, so yeah, Superman Can't Walk. It is track 2 on another EP, which was released in 1999 before Good Charlotte released their self-titled debut album in September of 2000. Track 1 on the EP was a song called Overcome, and track 3 was Screamer. If you're thinking, wait a second, I have never heard of this song, or I've heard of it but I've never listened to it, yeah, I mean, it's a pre-album track. It's not on Spotify, it's not on any of the normal streaming services. You can, however, find it on YouTube. A few people have uploaded it. It's not too hard to find. There is not a lot out there on this song. It's a pre-album track. It's a track that didn't make it to the album. So yeah, I mean, if you ask me, it's not really a surprise that it's kind of hard to find and that there's not really any press that talks about it, but I still think it is fun to talk about all these things, We get to do some super deep dives on Good Charlotte and do things on this podcast that other outlets and podcasts are not going to bother covering. Normally right about here, I would introduce my guest, but yeah, you all know me. Hi, I'm Molly. I'm the host and creator of Generation GC. I also produce and edit the show, and I run the social media pages. Basically, everything Generation GC is me. And yeah, this is a bonus episode, and what's been cool about these is there are just so many different topics that I have found to talk about. We did an episode not too long ago about Not Another Teen Movie, and I have a bunch of awesome bonus episodes planned and in the works for the rest of this year and into 2021. But why did I want to talk about Superman Can't Walk? Well, it is a very old school, OG Good Charlotte track, and I think it's really fun to look back at that, to look back at these songs that so many people haven't heard. A lot of fans came into Good Charlotte around the time of The Young and the Hopeless, Chronicles of Life and Death, so to them, and even to me initially, to a lot of us initially, the oldest thing was the self-titled. So I think it's really cool to look all the way back and just learn about their roots. I first heard this song in, I think, the spring of 2005. I basically got my hand on a bunch of Good Charlotte demos and old tracks and B-sides, actually via eBay. I don't know, I never used like Napster or any of LimeWire or anything like that. But yeah, I mean, I managed to find a whole bunch of Good Charlotte demos and B-sides and such on eBay, and that's how I heard this song. Someone had like burned a bunch of Good Charlotte songs onto various CDs, and I was like, okay, hey, it was worth it. It exposed me to some fun tracks. nobody is really talking about this song. I mean, I did a bonus episode on Gravity Girl back in May, which was so much fun because, I mean, people love Gravity Girl. I love Gravity Girl, but I feel like even more so than Gravity Girl, this is a song that a lot of people just haven't heard or they don't really know about it, so I'm really excited to share it and dive into it. So let's dive into what Superman Can't Walk is about. To me, this is like a guy watching a girl who is kind of flailing when her boyfriend is no longer able to save her, and he is probably pretty sick of being the one to save her. I almost wonder if this is about the same situation as Gravity Girl, which Gravity Girl was about a girl that brought them down, that kind of sucked them in, but was never really able to kind of be what they needed. And this, to me, feels like it could be a follow-up to that. Like, hey, you've been bringing me down, you've been writing me off, and you've been using me as emotional support, but you don't actually want my help. You just want me to kind of, like, be there, but you don't want me for me. And then when your boyfriend breaks up with you, I'm not going to be the one to save you anymore. I don't know. I mean, it seems like these songs were a few years apart, but I don't know. I could see it. I think it's, I mean, I've been there. I think many of us have been there, right? Like, you have that person that is just kind of turning to you and using you. The slang term that I've heard is emotional tampon. You have someone that's using you for emotional support without either wanting to pursue anything with you romantically or even like giving you that same support back as a friend. And they just kind of always expect you to be there and to help them and to listen to them, but they don't actually want to be with you. And that's a shitty, shitty feeling. And here they use the metaphor, the comparison of Superman and Christopher Reeve. As very important context, in case you aren't aware, Christopher Reeve was an actor, writer, and director who is best known for playing Superman, beginning with the 1978 film Superman. In 1995, he became paralyzed from the neck down after he was thrown from a horse. He was quadriplegic, so he used a wheelchair and needed a portable ventilator in order to breathe. There's also a reference in the first verse of the song. He says, "You call yourself Lois Lane and you're in pain and I'm insane." Lois Lane, of course, is Superman's girlfriend, his primary love interest. So, yeah, I mean, I have some complicated feelings about this song and using this metaphor in the song. But a little more background on Christopher Reeve. He actually did a lot of advocacy before he passed away. He sought out the help of the American Paralysis Foundation and eventually lent them his name as well as funding. The organization is now known as the Christopher and Dana Reeve Foundation in honor of Christopher and his late wife. From their website, the Christopher and Dana Reeve Foundation is dedicated to curing spinal cord injury by funding innovative research and improving the quality of life for people living with paralysis through grants, information, and advocacy. It was started back in 1982, and at that time, it was, from what I understand, obviously, and this is from like reading a little bit about Christopher Reeve, but when this foundation was started in 1982, there was not much spinal cord research, and it kind of seemed like when this foundation was started, it was like, oh, you got a spinal cord injury, you're just done for. But I think people like Christopher Reeve, as well as the work that this foundation is doing, prove that there can be a lot of hope. A full recovery might not be possible, but a lot of progress can be made in terms of quality of life, which is incredible. And Christopher Reeve was very involved. He lobbied on behalf of people with spinal cord injuries and for human embryonic stem cell research. He passed away in October 2004, but yeah, I mean, he was really active in research, and he actually traveled to Israel in 2003 because at that time, Israel was at the forefront of stem cell research. A slight tangent, but I went to Israel on a birthday trip in 2016, and we learned a little bit about the tech industry in Tel Aviv, and oh my gosh, so much is going on in Israel in all forms of scientific and biological and medical and technological research. So Israel, for a long time, has been and really continues to be a hub of scientific and medical and technological progress, which is very cool if you ask me. I think with this song, Good Charlotte was doing some sort of, social commentary, a little satire. They were taking their experience and applying a metaphor and to try to make it a little funny. I think Good Charlotte was doing here not necessarily social commentary or satire, because I don't think Superman or Christopher Reeve is the subject of this song. Superman / Christopher Reeve being paralyzed is a metaphor used in the song, but not the subject of this song. The subject of this song is a guy that is singing about a girl whose boyfriend is not going to save her anymore, and he is like, well, you're SOL because I'm out of here. But I guess the question I have, and I'm curious for everyone who's heard this song and who's listening to this, I mean, was this song successful in using this metaphor? And, was it okay? I think this song was clever, and, I still think it's pretty clever and funny, but I don't know, I kind of feel like it doesn't fit the vibe of what ended up happening on the first record. I mean, think about, the first record, the self-titled. There's not a lot of big metaphor or allegory, and this also, I think, I don't know, I feel like this is a little edgy, just in using a possibly controversial metaphor. And so I don't think that necessarily fit with the vibe of the first album. So, it's not a surprise to me at all that this was not included on the first album. When I was doing my research, I was hoping to, find some record of if they played it live, and I didn't see anything officially, but, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they did at the time, before the album came out and everything. Who knows? I don't know. I kind of assume they did at some point, but, who knows? TBD, I guess. I also wanted to go into the fan response of this song a bit, because there's some fun comments. We're going to go through some YouTube comments first. So first, Danny Mack says, the riff is really wet. It's good to hear what it was like before they could play. Marlon Acosta said, okay, this song is really bothering me because I know that I've heard something really similar to it. And I kind of get that too, because this song, it sounds so familiar to me, and I feel like I should be able to make some very direct comparison, but it's on the tip of my tongue, except not really, because I am not sure what I want to compare it to, but it feels like I've heard something that sounds like this before. Here's a good comment. Mathilde Norgard said, Superman can't save us. Well, Good Charlotte can. Bravo. Big mood. User iPod Sucks Balls said, well, this song was pretty boring. It's like the whole thing's an intro. I was waiting for the real song. See, I disagree with that, because I like the song a lot. I think I don't know, it's not like a all-out banger or really anthemic or anything, but I wouldn't call it boring, but to each their own, of course. And then user Slippy Jones said, this song is so wrong, but it has the humor of NoFX, the harmony of Bad Religion, and the melody of Green Day. Which, yeah, I think that's a pretty good way to put it. And let's read some comments from songmeanings.com. Songmeanings is great because they show you the oldest comments first, and songmeanings.com has been around forever. So user Headhunter1 back in 2002 said GC seems to have a little mean streak or something in them. I mean, I don't know. I think, obviously, I don't know why they wrote this song. You know, it's not something they've ever talked about in interviews that I was able to find. But I don't know. Is it mean to be sick of trying to save someone and be there for someone emotionally who doesn't actually want to be with you? No, I don't think that's mean. But is the Superman can't walk, Christopher Reeve being paralyzed mean? I kind of think it might be a little. User Thursday Night in 2002 said, the jock guy or whatever usual label you like to come up with is in a wheelchair, so it's kind of like, haha, and the girl was going out with a guy, and yeah. I disagree with that interpretation somewhat because I think the girl's boyfriend that he's singing about, what I get is not necessarily that this girl's boyfriend ended up in a wheelchair, but this girl's boyfriend is just, who's her Superman, is just no longer able to be there for her. They broke up. User Just Plain H in 2003 said, no offense, but this song is a little broader than Jocks and Cheerleaders, eh? I think it's more about the whole irony of life. How 1 minute everything is great, the next life couldn't seem to get any worse. This song can apply to any situation, though. I do agree. Yeah, I think it is broader than Jocks and Cheerleaders. And I think it's, we've been talking about like romantically, but it goes for friends too, right? That if someone is just kind of always using you and turning to you for support and asking things from you as a friend, but they don't actually want to be a friend to you in the same way, well, that sucks. Nobody wants to be in that situation. User Waiting for the Rain in 2006 had a very detailed comment, said, I can't believe anyone will make a song like this, like some emo goth kid who was never popular, laughing at a popular kid who is now in a wheelchair. Just because he was popular and you weren't, get over it. No wonder he wasn't popular, he wasn't nice. He laughs at people in wheelchairs. Idiot. I don't care how mean and popular that person was, he didn't deserve paralysis. This reminds me of what has just happened recently in our school. Emo kids, get over it. The world owes you nothing, so stop thinking it does. Pathetic. Yeah, I think that comment is kind of missing a point. I don't know. I think if you didn't know anything about Christopher Reeves and his story, I think I would think, yeah, this song is definitely about a girl whose boyfriend is literally paralyzed. I don't think it's actually about that, but again, and this is something that, like, if a metaphor or allegory or any comparison is to be successful, it has to be clear to the average listener. I think most people got it, though. User Dado507 in 2007 says, this song uses the Christopher Reeve case as a metaphor somehow. The irony that Superman, the man who could fly and stop a train, now can't even walk. And now, if Superman is not here to save us, who is going to do it? What is there left for the rest of us, if not even this super guy is going good? So, yeah, it's a metaphor. It's got a little bit of irony, some literary devices. It's kind of clever. But here's the question that's been on my mind, and I'm curious to hear from all of y'all listeners as well. So please engage on socials and everything. Is this song problematic? Now, is it mean? Again, I don't think they were actually writing about a guy who was actually in a wheelchair. They may have been. I don't know. I don't think they were actually writing about someone who was actually paralyzed in a wheelchair, not able to walk. I think what they were doing here is doing something they often did early on, and that, frankly, they tend to do throughout the 7 records, which is write about being an outsider and kind of seeing the popular kids or the ones who are in relationships or who do have all these groups of friends, whatever. They're writing from the perspective of being an outsider who's looking at these kids who have like the best social life and the boyfriends and everything and kind of poking holes in that. And yeah, I mean, that does come as a defense mechanism, right? Like, if you're insecure about not having something, it's a very common defense mechanism that you're going to make fun of the people who do have it and poke holes in their experience, right? He says in the chorus, they don't like the fun I'm poking, don't they know I'm only joking? I guess, I don't know. I see it as like this girl had this boyfriend that she was like in love with. He was her Superman. He breaks up with her and she's really sad and he basically laughs in her face. I don't know. Do they know you're only joking? No, like that's what I think is a little weird about this song is it's not necessarily clear like what's joke and what's social commentary or satire and what is like, no, I like actually have some real anger and some real feelings I need to share. And that's the struggle. And I think like if a song is going to do well, usually the best songs have some clever double entendres or metaphors or allegories or comparisons that are like very clear in their execution. And that's what I think is maybe a little off about this song. So how has Superman Can't Walk held up for me over time? Not super great. I mean, it's a catchy song. It's a really fun listen. And I relate to the feeling of it, like the narrator of the song. I relate to that feeling a ton. Just not, kind of being sick of being there for someone and not wanting to save them anymore when they come crawling back to you. But yeah, I mean, paralysis is, a lot of progress has been made in spinal cord research, but like paralysis is still a pretty big thing. Being in a wheelchair is like a huge thing. So yeah, this song I think hasn't held up for me super great. But look, I think it's important to talk about everything. And I didn't start this podcast, so I would like only share the things that like I love. I started this podcast because I wanted to just do a real big deep dive. Last words about this song. I do think it's clever, but yeah, I can see why this didn't make it into the first album. Lastly, y'all know that I am doing the Generation GC and Friends playlist, and since Superman Can't Walk is not on Spotify, I'm going to leave y'all with 2 recommendations from me for the playlist. Number 1 is Troye Sivan, In a Dream. He just put out this new EP. As I'm recording this podcast, the EP came out today, and I'm just obsessed. I've listened to the EP like 3 times already. It's lush, it's dreamy, it's wonderful. I'm obsessed. It's so good. Number 2 is Grayson Chance, Bad to Myself. I found Grayson's music earlier this year, and this new single is so empowering. It's all about realizing that you need to start treating yourself a little better. And I think that's a good reminder for all of us, frankly, right? We deserve it. And treating yourself better is not, it's a lot of things. I think part of that is getting the physical and mental health care that you need. It's also eating healthy. It's exercising and taking care of your body in that way. It's also doing things like a face mask or a bubble bath or playing with your puppy, whatever, to feel good. Well, thank you all for tuning in to episode 30 of Generation GC on Superman Can't Walk. This has been a bonus episode. Yesterday, we talked about There She Goes from Cardiology, and in a few days, we'll be back with our next regular episode on a song from Youth Authority. My name is Molly Hudelson. I've been your host. You can follow Generation GC at Generation GC Pod, POD, on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. You can also follow me, Molly, at M Hudelson, MHUDELSON. Please make sure you subscribe to the show on iTunes, rate, leave a review, and tell your friends. Spread the word. Maybe you have friends who like Good Charlotte and you think they're going to love this podcast as much as you do. Maybe you have a friend that you're like trying to get them obsessed with Good Charlotte. Send them this podcast so they can learn everything they need to know. Thank you all for tuning in.